back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Karen. This is Runwright Reads. I'm happy you're here and I hope you stay. For those of you who are returning, it's been a while since I posted a haul video. I didn't realize it had been so long. So I have a lot of books to share with you. This may be a little unedited because I just wanna share the books with you. So let's not worry so much about structure and format and all the fancy things that you can do with videos. This is just about the books. A lot of these have been gifted to me by Penguin Random House. So just want to say thank you so much to the publishers, Penguin Random House, for having gifted me these books and entrusting me with the privilege of sharing them with you. This stack is books that I received in January. I'm holding up the finished copy of Saltwater because in January I got an ARC, but I've since gotten a finished copy of Saltwater. So synopsis says, in 1992, Sarah Lingate is found dead below the cliffs of Capri, leaving behind her 3-year-old daughter, Helen. Despite suspicions that the old money Lingates are involved, Sarah's death is ruled an accident, and every year the family returns to prove that's true. But on the 30th anniversary of Sarah's death, the Lingates arrive at the villa to find a surprise waiting for them: the necklace Sarah was wearing the night she died. Does that sound intriguing to you? Then pick up Saltwater by Katie Hayes. I am so excited to read it. TLC Book Tours sent me The Magic of Knowing What You Want by Tracy G. And this is a practical guide to unearthing the wisdom of your desires. A lot of it is introspection, trying to figure out what it is that you really want for your life and giving you practical tips on accomplishing those goals. So I really enjoyed that. Penguin Random House also sent me Tidy Up Your Life. This is Rethinking How to Organize, Declutter, and Make Space for What Matters Most by Tyler Moore. His Instagram handle is Tidy Dad. And I read this earlier in the year and really enjoyed it. And I've been following Tidy Dad on Instagram and TikTok since then. Really enjoyed this because the author is a teacher and he lives in Queens. And I just love what he had to say about really maximizing your space, no matter how big or how small it is. And I'm just constantly awed by the fact that he and his wife and 3 girls, 5 people, living in a really small New York City apartment and just making it work. So I love that. Then other books that the publisher sent me, which I haven't gotten to yet, include The Book of Fire by Christy Lefteri. I just love getting books that are set in other places. The synopsis of this one says, in present-day Greece, deep in an ancient forest, lives a family. Irene, a musician who teaches children to read and play music, her husband Tasso, who paints pictures of the forest, his greatest muse, and Kara, their young daughter, whose name means joy. On the fateful day that will forever alter the trajectory of their lives, flames chase fleeing birds across the sky. The wildfire that will consume their home and their lives as they know it races toward them. Months later, as the village tries to rebuild, Irene stumbles upon the man who started the fire, a land speculator who had intended only a small controlled burn to clear forest land to build on. Does that sound intriguing to you? Check out this one. I also got this ARC, How to Love Better, The Path to Deeper Connection Through Growth, Kindness, and Compassion. This is by Young Pueblo, and this went on sale in March. I didn't get a finished copy, and I didn't get a chance to really go through the ARC, so sorry about that one. But those are the books that I got in January. February stack is a little bit bigger. First up is Junie by Erin Crosby Eckstein, which I'm really excited about because it is blurbed by someone who I have read recently from, Charmaine Wilkerson. And also, I have a new book from her. Oh, I just keep putting these books together. I don't know why. Every time I hold up this one, it seems like I hold up this one. I haven't read either of them yet, but I'm really excited about them. So in June, we're reading about a young enslaved girl at the beginning of the Civil War, and the synopsis says, 16 years old and enslaved since she was born, Junie has spent her life on Bellarine Plantation in Alabama, cooking and cleaning alongside her family and tending to the white master's daughter, Violet. Her daydreams are filled with poetry and faraway worlds, while she spends her nights secretly roaming through the forest, consumed with grief over the sudden death of her older sister. When wealthy guests arrive from New Orleans, hinting at marriage for Violet and upending Junie's life, Junie commits a desperate act, one that rouses Minnie's spirit from the grave, tethered to this world unless Junie can free her. Do you need to hear more about this in order to want to pick this one up? So this is one of my most anticipated books. I will get to it very, very soon, as well as this one, Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson. She's the author of Black Cake. And the synopsis of this one says, when 10-year-old Ebby Freeman heard the gunshot, time stopped. When she saw her brother Baz on the floor, surrounded by shattered pieces of a treasured heirloom, Her life felt shattered as well. The crime was never solved. Ever since, the Freemans, one of the only black families in a well-to-do enclave in New England, have dreaded becoming the center of another media frenzy. But when now-grown Ebby's high-profile romance falls apart, that's exactly what happens. Ebby flees to France, only for her past to follow. I tend not to read the entire synopsis because I don't want to be spoiled about everything that happens like in the first 100 pages or so. But I am really looking forward to reading this and this. Here I am showing these two books together again. I'm really looking forward to reading this, and I'm really looking forward to reading this one. And this is Charmaine Wilkerson. And because I don't think I showed you, this is Erin Crosby Eckstein's picture as well. So those are two of the books that I got in February. Started off being a really great haul. I also got Shelterwood by Lisa Wingate. And this one has two timelines. 1990, law enforcement ranger arrives at Horse Thief Trail National Park seeking a quiet place to raise her son, but no sooner has Valerie reported for duty than a teenage hiker goes missing, and the long-hidden burial site of 3 children is discovered in a cave. Going back in time to 1909, 11-year-old Olive Radley knows that her stepfather is a threat to the 2 Choctaw girls boarded in their home. When the older girl disappears, Olive flees, taking 6-year-old Nessa with her. Together they begin a perilous journey to the remote winding Steer Mountains, the territory of outlaws, treasure hunters, and desperate men. 2 interwoven timelines and a little bit of indigenous background. Looking forward to that. I don't know Lisa Wingate's background, if she is indigenous herself, but I'm looking forward to what this book brings because there's a book club guide in the back with maps of Oklahoma and some pictures, and I'm looking forward to what we learned from this book. I also got Bibliophobia, a memoir by Sarah Chihaya. Sarah Chihaya is an Asian woman, and she's the co-author of the Ferrante Letters, an experiment in collective criticism. So Bibliophobia is a literary memoir. She's talking about books that have influenced her, and she calls her life ruiner Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye, because she says it became a talisman for her in high school, and its electrifying treatment of race exposed her deepest feelings about being Japanese American in a predominantly white suburb of Cleveland. I've been wanting to read this ever since I saw the synopsis. It's just, you understand, I got a lot of books. I'm not complaining, but I'm also working on these projects, and sometimes it's hard to find time to read the other books that speak to me, but I will very soon. Original Sins is another book that I got recently. This is by Eve L. Ewing, The Miseducation of Black and Native Children and the Construction of American Racism. The author is a writer, scholar, and cultural organizer from Chicago. And in this, she asked the question, why don't our schools work? Despite seemingly endless efforts at reform, reinvention, and closing the racial achievement gap, Eve L. Ewing asks a new question. What if schools are doing exactly what they were built to do? Original Sins by Eve. Also received this novel, Blackwood's Blue Sky by Ewan Ivey. That's the author right there. And this book is a novel, and the synopsis says Birdie's keeping it together. Of course she is. So she's a little hungover sometimes, and she has to bring her daughter to her job waiting tables at an Alaskan roadside lodge. Still, she's getting by as a single mother in a tough town. But Birdie can remember happier times from her youth when she was free in the wilds of nature. Can't we all? Arthur Nielsen, a soft-spoken and scared recluse who appears in town only at the change of seasons, brings Emmeline back to safety when she gets lost in the woods. Most people avoid him, but to Birdie, he represents everything she's ever longed for. She finds herself falling for Arthur and the land he knows so well. Against the warnings of those who care about them, Birdie and Emmeline move to Arthur's isolated cabin in the woods on the far side of the Wolverine River. It's just the 3 of them in the vast black woods, far from roads, telephones, electricity, and outside contact. But Birdie believes she has come prepared. Is she? This is not my usual jam, but I couldn't resist checking this out. These are 3 books in a series. One of the reasons I don't pick up a lot of series is sometimes it can be hard waiting for the next book in a series, waiting for the continuation of a story. So I like that if I'm going to start a series, I already have all of the other books queued up. So this is Karen Marie Moning's series. This is Dark Fever, Blood Fever, and Fae Fever. This is the Fever series. I have the first. I hope the 3 books. I don't know if it's a trilogy. I hope so. These are books that I got, most of these from Penguin Random House in February. I am just so thankful. And then here are books that I got in March. Speaking of series, I got Dirty Diana, and then I also got Diana in Love. These are 2 podcast books by Jen Besser and Shanna Fest. So Diana Wood has a job she likes and a husband, Oliver, she loves. They have a daughter they adore. Diana and Oliver spend all their time together. They even work in the same office. They're in married love, which isn't exactly the same as love, but it's fine. Or is it? Is fine good enough? Diana and Oliver haven't been intimate in months, and the cozy trappings of Diana's life in Dallas, Texas have become even more confining. She's restless, growing more distant from Oliver by the day. A trip to see an old friend prompts Diana to remember the woman she used to be, an aspiring artist, someone devoted to creativity, spontaneity, sensuality, etc. So that's the first book. And then there's a follow-up. Diana has thrown her life in the garbage disposal and flipped the switch. Everything's a mess. And I think the rest of it is a spoiler for this book, so I won't tell you too much more about it. But yeah, these are based on the #1 fiction podcast. Who knew that there were fiction podcasts? Do you guys listen to them? I don't listen to podcasts, but I want to check these out. They're short, and I think they're going to be spicy. So I haven't started that yet, but I will. Then I got this book of poetry, A Little Daylight Left poem by Sarah Kay. This is an arc, and I read through some. I don't think I wouldn't say most. I read through some of the poems, and I really like the writing. So I will come back and talk about this next week when it is released on April 1st. I talked about this in a video that I posted recently where I read Irish authors. This is Twist by Colin McCann, and because sometimes I tend to go long, I will just read brief synopsis. Anthony Fennell, an Irish journalist and playwright, is assigned to cover the underwater cables that carry the world's information. The sum of human existence, words, images, transactions, memes, voices, viruses, travels through the tiny fiber optic tubes, but sometimes the tubes break at unfathomable depths. Fennell's journey brings him to the west coast of Africa, where he uncovers a story about the raw human labor behind the dazzling veneer of the technological world. He meets a fellow Irishman, John Conway, the chief of mission on a cable repair ship. The mysterious Conway is a skilled engineer and a freediver capable of reaching extraordinary depths. He is also in love with a South African actress, Zanele, who must leave to go on her own literary adventure to London. I read this. I loved it. I love the fact that these are men from someplace else who are learning more about the world by being in South Africa and then off the coast. I love that it is about communication and connection, seeking to repair physical cables that help facilitate communication, but having difficulty working on communication with people who are right next to them or should be, like family who they're separated from. So I love this. I think the publication date is today, so I'm definitely going to do something to highlight this as well. I also got the new book by Hanif Abdurraqib. He is the author of A Little Devil in America. This one is called There's Always This Year on Basketball and Ascension, and I love this cover. I love this cover. So the synopsis says, growing up in Columbus, Ohio in the 1990s, Hanif Abdurraqib witnessed the golden era of basketball, one in which legends like LeBron James were forged and countless others weren't. His lifelong love of the game leads Abdurraqib into a lyrical, historical, and emotionally rich exploration of what it means to make it, who we think deserves success, the tension between excellence and expectation, and the very notion of role models, all of which he expertly weaves together with intimate, personal storytelling. This is a highly anticipated book for me, so you will hear me talk about this in an upcoming video, I am sure. Then I got 2 pink books. Pink is one of my favorite colors, and I'm going to be doing something to highlight these books in different ways, because look at these covers. They are stunning. Birds, sushi. Can you just see the themes that these books could fit into? Let's start with this one. Everybody Says It's Everything, a novel by Zenet Aliou, and this is the author's picture, and here's the synopsis. Raised in Connecticut, adopted twins Drita and Petrit, aka Pete, had no connection to their Albanian heritage. Their lives were all about Barbie dolls, the mall, and roller skating at the local rink. Although they were inseparable during their childhood, their paths diverged once they became teenagers. Drita was a good girl with good manners who was going to attend a good college. Pete was a bad boy going nowhere fast. Even their twinhood was not enough to keep them together. Fast forward to their 20s, Drita has given up on her dreams for the future. She hasn't heard from Pete in 3 years when his girlfriend and their son unexpectedly show up without him and in need of help. Realizing that Pete's child may offer the siblings a second chance at being family, Drita becomes determined to find her brother. That may be more than I wanted to know, but hopefully it's not a spoiler for you. Leave It Up to You is a novel by Jin-Woo Chong, and that's the author's photo. Here's a synopsis. A coma can change a man, but the world Jack Jr. awakens to is one he barely recognizes. His advertising job is history, his Manhattan apartment is gone, and the love of his life has left him behind. He's been asleep for 2 years with no one to turn to. He realizes it's been 10 years since he last saw his family. Lost and disoriented, he makes a reluctant homecoming back to the bustling Korean-American enclave of Fort Lee, New Jersey, back into the waiting arms of his parents who are operating under the illusion that he never left, and back to Joja, their ever-struggling sushi restaurant that he was set to inherit before he ran away from it all. I love that synopsis. Immigrant story, prodigal son, coma stories. I am here for all of that. I will be reading that very soon. Also got The Tell by Amy Griffin. This is an Oprah's book club pick. That's Amy Griffin. And this is a running memoir. It says, for decades, Amy ran through the dirt roads of Amarillo, Texas, where she grew up, to the campus of University of Virginia as a student athlete, on the streets of New York, where she built her adult life, through marriage, motherhood, and a thriving career. To many outsiders, it all looked perfect, but Amy was running from something, a secret she was keeping not only from her family and friends, but unconsciously from herself. You're here, but you're not here, her daughter said to her one night. Where are you, Mom? So began Amy's quest to solve a mystery trapped in the deep recesses of her own memory. Then we have Hunchback, a novel by, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. Forgive me, I will figure that out. But it's translated by Polly Barton. And this is nominated for the International Booker Prize. That's the author's picture right there. Here's what Hunchback is about. Born with a congenital muscle disorder, Shaka spends her days in her room in a care home outside Tokyo, relying on an electric wheelchair to get around and a ventilator to breathe. But if Shaka's physical life is limited, her quick, mischievous mind has no boundaries. She takes e-learning courses on her iPad, publishes explicit fantasies on websites, and anonymously troll tweets to see if anyone is paying attention. One day, she tweets into the void an offer of an enormous sum of money for a service. I won't tell you what the service is. To Shaka's surprise, her new nurse accepts the dare, unleashing a series of events that will forever change Shaka's sense of herself as a woman in the world. So it says it's a provocative, defiant debut novel about a young woman in a care home seeking autonomy and the full possibilities of her life. It is very small. So it's 90 pages. It's more novella than novel. I'll be reading this very soon. And finally, another fantasy pick, fantasy at its finest. This is The Rag Picker King by Cassandra Clare. If you follow me on Instagram, you may know right now I'm reading A Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, which I haven't read a fantasy book in so long, so it's my first time picking up fantasy, but I'm already so immersed. I had to almost tear myself away from the book in order to come and film this video. So more fantasy coming in my life. This is The Rag Picker King. If you're not familiar, that's Cassandra Clare. And here's a synopsis, brief synopsis. I love when there are maps in books, even if I don't refer to them. I just love that they're there. Kel Saren, body double to Connor, crown prince of the dazzling city of Castellane, is caught between two worlds. In order to protect his beloved prince, Kel must find the culprits responsible for a massacre at the royal palace. But the only clues are held by the Rag Picker King, the notorious criminal who rules Castellane's underworld. The trail Kel follows leads back to the hill, where among decadent nobles and glittering parties, a dark conspiracy to destroy the royal family has taken hold. A conspiracy headed up by the monstrous Artel Grimont, the fiancé of the woman Kel adores. There's more, and I'm not going to read it because even though this book is about 560 pages long, I feel like you want to go in I feel like you want to go into a fantasy book not knowing anything that's supposed to happen, just letting it unfold organically is how I say it. So these are the books that I got in March, and I can't hold up all the books. I can't hold up all the books. I'm going to try to hold up all the books. So just want to say thank you so much to Penguin Random House for having sent me most of these books. A couple of the other books, I think, came from TLC Book Tours. So yeah, these are some of the books that have come in my life since the beginning of the year. I have now finished, I think, 27 books so far this year, and most of those books came from the library. So I don't know where I'm finding space to put all of these new books, but I will make space. I will make space for them. I will make space for them. I'm just so happy. We'll figure out the space problem later. Thank you so much for being here. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, please subscribe to see what I post next. Turn on the notifications because my posting schedule is a little bit sporadic, but I'd love for you to know when I post. So turn on the notifications as well. So let me know what books have come into your life recently. If you bought them, if they were gifted to you, if you thrifted them. Let me know. Thank you so much for being here. Let's chat in the comments, and until we come back for another video, happy reading.